This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Ira Winderman. Those of you on listening on the podcast, make sure you follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Ira, it started off well last night, and then it got ugly, my man. Second quarter on, it just didn't go their way, man. And then we had the Lowry injury, which, the only good thing was that I had what's it called? Robinson over 10.5 for the game on the Seminole Sports app.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I got to tell people, we were speaking about this yesterday in our Pallet Rock City Inside the Paint report. So we'll talk about it today in our Acura Pembroke Pines report. The app is not only live from Seminole Sports, but it is absolutely available at Heat games. And I was sort of tinkering with it, not betting. I understand I got to be professional. And it was interesting because there was one proposition on the cover on the front screen was it was like plus 230, a Heat victory, and Jimmy Butler 25 points, both of which I thought were locks, and neither was a lock, which shows that they know more than I do. But it's just crazy, that honestly, I mean, think about this. The Heat could be down 20 points in the fourth quarter, and you could still have juice in the game because all of a sudden you're getting 18. So it's all of a sudden, it's like it's a whole new world. I asked the Heat if they would comment on it. They're not addressing it. They're in an awkward position. They have no stake in that right now. I'm sure they'll try to work a maneuver. Remember, Adam Silver wanted to get a 1% cut of all of this, and the sports books and the app said, yeah, I don't think so. And they just went ahead on their own. They got state approval, but it really is a whole new world that you could be at the worst game ever, of which last night might have qualified, and you still can have a skin in the game to the absolute last play. As you know, Duncan Robinson, late three, got his cover on his threes and all of that. So, it's not quite as long-term as your Bitcoin and other crypto investments. Right. But if you want to live in the moment, it really is an interesting thing to do. So I hope all the parents educate their young children at the game so the kids can have some skin in the game also.
Last night I took the Sixers minus 4.5. I took Duncan Robinson over 10.5. When I knew that LeBron was out, it was Russ over 22.5. And I said, well, he's got the ball in his hands. He's going to score a bunch. And I got that. And then my man Christian Wood is the only one that let me down. He scored 17. I had him over 19.5. I thought, and he was rolling. He had 12 at halftime. So I was like, all right, I'm on pace to maybe win all four of these things.
The worst part of all of it.
3-1.
And the worst part of all of this is, I usually get these texts and emails by deeply concerned fans asking, is Jimmy going to play? Is Kyle going to be around? Because they care so much about the player's individual health. And man, it's going to get worse than ever because everyone wants to know that injury report. Everyone has a stake in there. It completely changes lines. Look, the books are going to be ahead of everyone. They have to be. That's how they make a living. But you know what? A lot of this stuff is in the moment. If the Heat come out today and say, I don't think they will, but that Kyle Lowry's day-to-day, believe me, every hour tomorrow, how's Kyle doing? I'm deeply concerned. I mean, the stuff I get, hi, I'm a relative of Kyle, and I want to go see him play tonight. Do you think, hey, stop it. Just be honest about it. Just say, hey, I want to know if I should take the Heat and give the points against the Jazz tonight. At least be honest with me. Man, it's a whole new world with all these apps.
And my brother, that one injury changes the complexion of everything with the Miami Heat because
and you know what? Yeah,
they're a different offense.
And again, people will understand, and I hope they're coming back regularly twice a week here in our Acura Pembroke Pines report. Twice with Acura Pembroke Pines, once with our Pallet Rock City people. And I think it's important because we don't change our storyline. We stay consistent. And you know this. From the preseason to the start of the season, Ira Winderman and Orlando Alzugaray have been talking about the need for a true backup veteran point guard.
That's all you, baby. That's all you.
I think you agree strongly.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, but I got to give you the love because you're the one.
And here we are all over again. God bless Gabe Vincent, young player, shooter, learning how to play point guard on the NBA level. But if Kyle's going to be out 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 games, you need something more because everything changes. All the stories about the Heat that were written when they were 6-1 was how different the offense is when Kyle's on the court versus when Kyle's off the court. Well, if it's just going to be Kyle off the court, all of a sudden Jimmy Butler's handling more. All of a sudden Tyler Hero can be the second string point guard and isn't looking for his offense as much. All of a sudden Bam Adebayo is operating the offense from the elbow, and we're back to last season's Heat offense. I'm not saying you need the greatest point guard in the world. I'm saying you need someone, maybe a Jeff Teague or someone like that, who at least can get you into offense. I mean, all of a sudden, something as simple and he's not available as an Ish Smith would make a difference on this team.
He's a solid pro, man.
Yeah,
He's
and he's been everywhere he went. So again, that's where we are. No, I don't have an update right now as we tape this right now. I think it'll come later in the day. Eric Spoelstra downplayed it. If people didn't see it, basically Duncan Robinson made a failed attempt to try to draw a charge on Jaylen Brown, fell backwards, landed on Kyle Lowry. At no point when Kyle Lowry limped off the court did he put any pressure on that ankle. He literally bunny hopped off the court and right into the locker room, which is never a good sign, because usually if it's a mild sprain or something, you try to put a little pressure on it.
Try to walk it off.
You try to run over and maybe get it iced up in a hurry so you can take care of it so it's not a problem. So I would expect missed time. And Orlando, let's look at the upcoming schedule. Saturday at FTX Arena against the Jazz. Monday in Denver against the Nuggets. Wednesday against, we don't know if LeBron's playing, they're still the Lakers national TV. Thursday, Paul George and the Clippers. And then a week from Saturday, a week from tomorrow, a game against the Jazz, this time in Utah. It's a brutal schedule. Matter of fact, if you were to tell me the Heat are not going to have Kyle Lowry, even I think on Saturday, the Heat would be an underdog in every one of those games, which shows you how fast that 6-1 can go to something completely different.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Although Odell Beckham is being released. Does he play point guard? I'm just wondering.
No, but I know the Dolphins are second on the waiver wire, so I think in the final hours of your show today, you'll have plenty of chatter on that as well.
And he's an injured receiver. So, I mean, we collect them like, I used to collect
he fit in perfectly. Devontae Parker can give him the full tour of the training room and the rehab facilities, so we'll know exactly where to be at all times.
Yeah. Hey, no, Will Fuller will show him what he does. Devontae Parker will show him what he does. Albert Wilson will show him what he does.
I mean, with
Williams. I mean,
Fuller will show him how to collect a salary and actually not play a game. Yes, so that he can learn that also.
Yeah, man. Wow. We'll just call them we should call them the MASH unit. That's probably what that receiving core should be called, because that's exactly what they are. They are the MASH unit. All right, so Heat last night, we get the Lowry ankle twist. The good thing is, by the way, I know it's bad that Duncan ran into Lowry, but we're now starting to see Duncan getting out of that funk finally. That's
17 attempts. Yes, he made 5, but they came on 17 three-point attempts. That tied Wayne Ellington's team record. So teams are letting him shoot to a degree. They're picking their poison. Duncan is not their poison right now. Has to be more in lockstep. What happened is Boston really shut down the Heat's interior passing. They packed the paint. They switched on everything. It's like Eric Spoelstra said. You start a season, and there's no real scouting report. Teams are new. The Heat out P.J. Tucker, Kyle Lowry, Markieff Morris, they're a different team. Now we're about 2 weeks in. Now opponents know what this Heat team does, which is so different than last season's Heat team. Now they have a scouting report. Now you have to adjust to the adjustments. Look, Eric Spoelstra is a fantastic coach. He adjusts as well as anyone. He will, but we're at that point right now. It's interesting. What worked well in week 1 and 2 of the NBA, all of a sudden in week 3 and 4 might have to change as soon as now. We're only 10% into the 82-game schedule. They're done with 8, but the scouting in this league, they don't miss anything.
No, I'm with you there. And tomorrow the challenge is a bitch, because you're talking about a team that also plays defense. So that's
best record in the league. After the Heat lost, the Jazz have the best record. The good thing is, well, not good for Utah, is Donovan Mitchell missed last night's victory with an ankle sprain of his own. So tomorrow will be a real injury report, day. So again, everyone loves following the Big O on Twitter. So go to him for your ankle injury updates tomorrow, because I know that Big O is deeply concerned about the health of Kyle Lowry and Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure the line's going to be off the board until we find out something about those injuries.
Yeah, but I know how you operate. So you'll be considering, Gabe Vincent 2.5 3-pointers. Should I take the over? So there'll still be something in play for you.
What do you think happens if the NBA had an Aaron Rodgers situation?
The NBA,
Or is it
like
impossible to do it actually in the NBA?
it would be, but the NBA is a lot like the NFL. They cater to their stars. They find workarounds for their stars. You know this. So the
Yeah.
star players lives in a completely different world in the NBA. And even remember what's going on in Brooklyn. That's a governmental thing. That the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie vaccinated, non-vaccinated, Kyrie
Right.
skipping 2 weeks, not skipping 2 weeks. They've always welcomed him back. I mean, look at some of the stuff Kyrie has done over the last 2-3 years. I'm going to take 2 weeks off. I'm going to go to a party without a mask. I'm going to talk about vaccinations. I'm going to talk about flat earth. I'm going to talk about anything, and I'm never going to show up for the playoffs. And they still embrace him. If you're a star, you can basically get away with whatever you want in the NBA. You can get away with what you want in the NFL. Let's be honest, pretty much get away with whatever you want in life in general. There's a different class of people who can pull that off.
All right, so a couple of years ago, the league and this commissioner had to deal with an ugly situation with the Clippers owner. Are we headed for another ugly situation in Phoenix with Robert Sarver? I mean, this is a guy that he's already had a terrible reputation as an
Yes.
owner, and now all of this stuff comes out. And when I'm trying to, what's the name of the coach that talked about
Earl Watson. Earl Watson, the
Watson?
former coach, now an assistant in
Yeah, when
Toronto.
Watson, yeah, and I know Sarver denied it, but I'm sorry, I'm going. To me, Sarver has no credibility in all of this. I'm leaning to Watson on this.
Yeah, but
This is disturbing, dude.
here's the difference between this and Donald Sterling. There's no audio evidence, there's no video evidence. Oh, let's talk about what we know about how these scandals work and how these cases work. In the NFL, if there's a wife beating or domestic violence, it's talked about, but no one knows for sure. But then when the video of Ray Rice in the elevator comes out, he's done. Donald Sterling was a pig of a human being all along. We know about his real estate and some other things also. But until that audio tape was released, you can only do so much. That's the difference here. This is he said, she said, what people think was said, but there's no dramatic evidence. There's no audio that we know of yet. There's no video that we know of yet. If that surfaces, how these things grow.
Sure.
But to me, that's the difference between forcing a Donald Sterling to divest his ownership of the Clippers and Steve Ballmer stepping in versus this situation. This is just conjecture at this point. You can deny anything without
but it's a lot of people, Ira.
It's a lot of people off the record. Now maybe of the 70 people mentioned this story, I think only 12 or a smaller number, a small percentage actually put their name to it. But unless you have the audio and the video, that's how it works. Oh, you know this. Something goes on YouTube. We saw what happened in Minneapolis with the situation there. Once you have the video, everything changes. But there's been plenty of other documented cases where people don't have the video and it never becomes the same story, unfortunately, because you don't have that video proof. So I think this is going to be different than Donald Sterling. The NBA cannot force him to step away unless they come up with some dramatic, see for yourself type of evidence. That's why I always look back at Ray Rice as being completely different from so much of this other domestic cases, even what's going on with Deshaun Watson and all that kind of stuff. Yes, these are what people are saying. Now, I don't want to see, in that case, the graphic evidence. Please keep it to yourself. But if someone did, if there was a recording or something, that's a game changer. Right now in Phoenix, we don't have the game changer. It's who we are. If we see it with our own eyes, if we hear it with our own ears, it's a lot easier for us to trust it. If people are just talking, hey, the way there's such mistrust in society in general right now, there's always going to be people who have their doubts.
So as a Dolphins fan, I can have sympathy, and I can have sympathy for a Suns fan, because a Suns fan has done a lot of suffering and really has never been able to even enjoy a championship. And so right now they've got something good going. They've got a nice little team going.
Sure.
But okay, so if you can't force Sarver to sell, but deep down inside, it's kind of like we all know what he really is and what he's all about. Can this now lead to something that pollutes what they're doing now on the court, and that maybe people don't want to be a part of this organization because of Robert Sarver leading the way and knowing the kind of person that he probably really is even though there is no physical evidence.
I'm going to give you a local contrast to that and how I think talent trumps all. The Florida Panthers were on a great run and then lost their coach in a very toxic situation. And the
Okay.
Florida Panthers kept on winning. And their only loss was an overtime loss. If you have quality of players, quality of talent, quality of coaching, you survive this. The Panthers are story 1A when it comes to that. I
But
almost
you're not
forgot
attacking but you're not attacking human beings there, and you have eliminated the
Oh,
person.
yeah, yes. And I'm saying you can't. And you know what? And we've seen this in baseball. Remember all those times George Steinbrenner was asked to step aside, wasn't involved with the team, whether it was the illegal campaign contributions or other things. What I think can happen in this situation is Adam Silver can ask Robert Sarver, please step away from the day-to-day while we handle this. Maybe they come out with some sort of suspension, which I thought the NHL might do with Coach Q and go in that direction. So I think they could be smart enough to handle the situation, let the temperature come down, saying there was a punishment in place. I mean, George Steinbrenner kept going away and coming back and going away and coming back. And baseball, survived, and the Yankees certainly survived. So I think that's what happens in this situation. I think right now at the moment, Robert Sarver needs to be out of sight, out of mind. Eventually, a report will come out. They'll say what he did. There'll be some sort of penalty or not. And then you go forward once it's sort of handled that way, because there isn't the audio, there isn't the video, there aren't photographs. So it is a little bit different.
By the way, I got a better example for you to defend your point. Marge Schott, 90 World Series. Reds shut down the great A's for nothing, and Marge Schott was the owner, and everybody knew what she was for a long time.
But there was also evidence there. There was photographic evidence of in her residence the swastikas and the Nazi memorabilia. So
yeah,
again,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But the talent overcoming all that,
Yes,
what you were
yes,
saying,
exactly.
the Reds went out and shocked the world and beat the A's, and meanwhile you have the most racist owner in baseball as your boss. So you're right about that. It's
quality. That exactly. Talent tends to trump all in sports.
yeah. I mean, to a lesser extent, because we don't know him to be that kind of a hateful person, but he is a miserable person. We had Jeffrey Loria here, and they still won a World Series. So it's not like Jeffrey Loria is the best person in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but let's be honest. Bad businessman is one thing. Bad human being is a different thing. So you have to look at it that way. There's plenty of bad business people. There's plenty of people out for themselves. The sport is loaded with profiteers. We've seen that over the years. You can wind up with one of those at any time, where a guy's just trying to get his stake and get out because there is money to be made. So to me, that's a completely different plane also.
By the way, the Heat's original owners.
No, the Heat's original owners. You know what? Oh,
money to be made.
Yeah, but I don't want to go long in the segment, but people get that wrong also. That was not a big money ownership group. So they had to live within their means. Basically, Ted Harrison said, here's some. Where the difference is Mickey Harrison said, here's all. So Louis Chaffel and Billy Cunningham really had to watch every penny. Every dollar did matter. They had to be careful with their offer sheets. They were a limited funded team. That's the difference. You get into a situation like that. I think the Panthers were like that for years.
Oh, Viner.
With their 75 owners after Wayne Huizenga, where every dollar mattered, where, oh my God, is there going to be a cash call? We might not have the money for it. What you want is deep pockets. Say what you want about Stephen Ross. He can afford it. He spends it. Maybe he doesn't spend it wisely, but he spends it. Mickey Harrison, the same thing. We're seeing that from the Panthers ownership. And now we have to see it from the Marlins ownership, because it is a tough business model for them right now. And we know, while everyone is saying Derek Jeter bought in, he's getting all that back on salary. It's all coming back, his stake on the back end with the nice contract he wrote himself. So we have to see the other part of the equation, because if you don't come with deep pockets, sports is a tough business.
Yeah, that's right. And none of you out there ever judge Kim Eng unless they give her a checkbook. All right, let's make sure we get that straight. Leave that woman alone until she gets a checkbook. Then we can measure her with everybody else. So we'll find out. All right, one more thing, Ira. Sure. I need you to help me out here, because I'm trying to take as much Tylenol as possible. It's not helping. I've got this terrible migraine having to deal with Scottie Pippen whining all the time. Help me, Ira. Help me. Can he just shut up and go away?
You know what? Being a famous number two can be one of the hardest things in life. I mean, we've seen it in your radio business with Mike and the Mad Dog, and whoever's number 2 doesn't feel the same. Or you can accept it. And we've seen plenty of co-hosts on late night TV, my age going back to Ed McMahon and people like that, who just accept. He's the star. I'm the second guy. Kids look that up on Wikipedia. And I think Scottie Pippen never wrapped his head around it. Being the second best player in an era of greatness puts you ahead of everyone but one. And no matter what Scottie Pippen did or says or anything, he was going to be number 2 to Michael. You could embrace that, and you could go plenty far also, like the number 2 pitcher in a great baseball rotation. You're still a great player on his own. Scottie Pippen never was able to wrap his head around that he was number 2 then. He is viewed as number 2 now. He will always be viewed as number 2. But the second best player on one of the greatest dynasties in all time, I mean, it's not like saying, oh, well, Bob Cousy's no one because he had Bill Russell. No, it's Bob Cousy. Or all those great Celtics players and all these dynastic players. And you could talk about all the championship football teams and their great quarterbacks, but people recognize the other great players as well. I think Scottie should enjoy his place of where he is instead of this bitterness, because it's not changing. He's not coming back to play. The record books aren't being rewritten, and MJ is an MJ. No one's saying, greatest play ever, LeBron or Scottie Pippen. No one's saying that. They're comparing it to Michael. Accept who you are. You know what? Or even cast yourself this way. The most versatile player on an NBA dynasty. Hey, that's what he was. There's some good to come out of it. But man, I know you want to sell books, but it always seems like Scottie Pippen still is looking for the next dollar. Could the money really have gone away that quickly?
Well, did you see that wife that is all over the place?
I stay away from NBA wives for a very good reason.
I'm sure she's wasted a lot of money of his. She was flying Future on his private jet so she can, have fun with Future while behind Pippen's back. So, meanwhile, that's Pippen's plane, that's Pippen's fuel, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Pippen ain't easy, but you go ahead.
I almost feel like he also has felt the wrath of all of us over the years for the migraine thing, for the what's it called, the contract thing. Sure. There was one more incident that he's
the Tony Kukoc taking the last shot instead, him not being on the court in that situation. Exactly. And everyone has those moments, but you don't harp on them. You move past them. I'm sure there are times Dwayne Wade wanted the last shot.
But he hasn't.
He hasn't. But maybe that's what his whole story is about. His whole story is trying to keep selling that he's the guy that's been sold short. So what? It's getting kind of tiresome. I've moved on.
Yeah, no, so have I. I mean, and I still, it's like, dude, shut up. You're a great player. Relax already, bro. Give me a break. There aren't a lot of players better than you. Just shut up.
It's not like he was left off the NBA 75th anniversary team. He's not like it's Vince Carter saying, hey, look at me, I belonged on there instead, or Alex English or someone like that. He's gotten the credit. He's probably gotten the credit, but for maybe only 25 players have gotten more credit than him. That's pretty good.
Damn right. And Alex English, by the way, had a sweet jumper, man.
Yeah, I think he deserved to be on the 75th anniversary team. But again, his teams didn't win as much.
Yeah, smooth as syrup, man. I loved watching that guy play. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. More importantly, catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel and subscribe. Support all of our local journalists. And, of course, you can catch him here 3 times a week all year long. Not just Heat season, but Heat off season, too. Ira, thank you, my brother. Have a fantastic weekend. We will talk again on Tuesday.
Going to go pick my numbers from Miami mashup jersey right now and then go from there. Thank you, Big O.
You got it, baby. There you go. I want a number 3 mashup jersey. I got to get me a Dwayne Wade one.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.